Hey everybody, welcome to Music Maniax with me and Arknolia and Bean. And tonight we're going to be doing part one of our look into the 1990s now. After completed our look into the whole 1980s music scene there, without any problems there. But for this search in the 1990s, we're going to basically, let me put it this way, me and Ark had a little small discussion before it went live just now, and basically he was looking over the list of songs that in the tops that was in the top 10, the top 30, the top 40 there, and basically he was like, "What the hell happened there?"
Yeah, it's definitely. It's like, did everybody go away?
No, well, and I got a few things I'm going to add myself in regards to the 90s myself there. I remember there was a lot of disgruntlement, on my part, over everything that had just, went around. Everything basically it was the dawn of a new decade. We just got a new president in a couple years after the 90s start. We just, let me just clean out some stuff here. Basically, the situation is that we had got a new president, Bill Clinton. He came into office in early 1993 after George H.W. Bush, just left office. He was voted out of the presidency, after much disgruntlement, much anger, because of the first Gulf War that occurred about 2 years earlier. The country was in a massive recession. A lot of U.S. citizens had died, and we all knew it was all for the pursuit of oil, not to defend Kuwait from Iraq. Basically, the idea was that Saddam Hussein had gotten possession of all the oil fields in Kuwait for himself there, and fearing that he would raise the cost of oil by the pound, Bush decided, hey, let's go in there and then get all the oil for ourselves. Let's save Kuwait. We'll call it Operation Desert Shield for the time being, which later became Operation Desert Storm. But the people were aware of what was really going on there, and they expressed their disgruntlement for it. I mean, in fact, you may remember around when the first war had started, and back in early 1991, there was massive public outrage. There was anger. There was a bulletin. I remember hearing about it on the radio as I was driving home from work. They let me go earlier that particular evening. I went home and I was listening to the radio, and the radio DJ announced it that bombing in Baghdad just started moments ago. I was like, oh, great. Oh, just what we need. And there was a lot of talk shows that were expressing fear and concern about it, including Oprah Winfrey, which was still in the era at that time. One participant even spoke out about it, said this was biblically predicted. There would be somebody predicted in the Bible that would cause a lot of he would be considered a threat to mankind. And people are saying that Hussein was a threat to mankind there. But it turns out it really wasn't there because we have years and ages for that to happen. But people were saying, this. It was a totally. That caused a lot of disgruntlement towards the Republican Party when you think about it. Because people were thinking all the Republicans are about war, about preserving money for themselves, keeping the money for their own in their pockets and everything else. But and not caring about other people's lives. That's how they look. That's what the people are looking at. And then we get this new president, Bill Clinton, who was a lot younger. He was around his 40s, who played his saxophone. And some questions were brought up about him, about his infidelity behind his wife Hillary's back. And this was way before we found out the true Hillary years on down the line, which she tried to run for president against Donald Trump. And then everything just switched over. The music scene switched over, the lifestyles has switched over. It's like, everything that was learned in the 70s and 80s were now pushed out to the side. And here comes these new values. And let me describe a little something here. This is towards all the people out there who say the things like the 90s were the best decade for me because we had all this great stuff there. The ones who are saying that now are the ones who grew up in the 1990s. Whereas people like Ark and myself were like, not so, man. The greatest period that we grew up in was the 60s, 70s, and 80s.
Without question.
Yeah, absolutely there. And yet a lot of the kids and people out there today who grew up throughout the 1990s, you only remember the acts that was around them at that time, whether it was the Chili Peppers, Pearl Jam, all these alternative acts like Hole, the New Radicals, and all the other groups that were out there during that time. We had it different. And also, one thing that really bugged the hell out of me was it was everything became liberal. Now, keep in mind, Ark and myself, we were not brought up liberal. Now, for those that out there who say the same thing, like, well, you grew up in a different time. No, this is the new era. Your ideas, your opinions don't matter out there. You got to be politically correct. Well, it's kind of hard to do that when you wasn't brought up that way. Thank you very much. And I gotta say, a lot of the people to who scream out for cancel culture, political correctness, they're the ones who grew up throughout the 1990s. That's the stuff that they learned. That's the stuff they were brought up with there. What they were doing is it was taking it a few steps further than that. It was like, it's okay to come out as gay. It's okay now to be transgender. We gotta we gotta be consideration. We gotta have feelings for what the other person is feeling. It's like, well, excuse me? When I was being bullied and picked on in high school, when I was being picked on in junior high, when I was being picked on in all the other schools because of my autism, where was the consideration back then? I still have yet to even get one damn apology from those people who picked on me years ago. So you see the disgruntlement where I'm coming from here. The bands that we grew up in listening to the 80s there, whether it's Warrant or Dokken or Judas Priest, they were shoved aside for bands like I said earlier, Pearl Jam, Dave Matthews Band, and mostly these are like songwriters, the only real good metal bands out there were Fear Factory, Pantera, Corrosion of Conformity. It even got to the point where even hard rock radio stations had converted to the new sounds that were out there. There was this one station back in Detroit known as WLLZ. It used to be called Detroit's Wheels. Now, that station made a comeback a couple years back on a different spot on the dial there, but it was all classic rock as we know it. Like the same old Sammy Hagar, the same old Lover Boy songs that we know back then, that we heard countless of times before. But the thing is, WLLZ had to convert to what was known as today's rock, which was REM, Hootie and the Blowfish, Chili Peppers, Pearl Jam, other alternative acts like Dave Matthews Band, Blues Traveler. They had to do that because that was the stuff trending at the time. And here I am, like, it's just soft. This is way soft, man. I'm like, geez. And the thing that peeved me off is that the people out there that was absorbing all this would mock us because we still listen to old classic heavy metal. I was at the Leon City Club, with a girl that I was dating at that time, and her friend was there. She asked, "Oh, so what'd you do the night before?" I went to see a heavy metal band I know from the local area called Illegal. And she was like, "Did you wear spandex? Did you wear spandex?" Might could be because hair metal bands at that time wore spandex and a puffed out hair and stuff like there. And I got pissed off at her for that. It's because of that, mentality that people had in their brains at that time. They're like, you got to get with everything that's out there. And later on, the girl that I was seeing during that period was trying to convert me into listening to Melissa Etheridge, Janis Joplin. Well, I'm sorry, Janis Joplin's got 20 times more talent than Melissa Etheridge. I'm sure Melissa's talented, but still, it's all soft stuff to me. Give me a break. It was a soft decade. It was a more, but to be more compassionate decade. And but for people like me, whenever I hear stuff from the 90's, that was the top 10 at that time, I cringe. I figure, this is probably why the society is the way it is now.
Probably a pretty good indication.
Absolutely, because like we said, many people out there who grew up in that decade learn all these values like political correctness, sensitivity. You don't have to be macho. You don't have to. It's okay to cry, and they take that throughout the rest of their adulthood. Whereas people my age and Ark's age here grew up in a totally different time zones. And so you see, so if we express a lot of disgruntlement on this program tonight and throughout the next few episodes, you'll understand why.
Right.
So anybody listening to this program later on hear me ranting about my disgruntlement with the 1990's, you got to see where we are coming from. That's all I ask. We grew up in different periods.
And if you want to defend that stuff, hey, give us a call.
Exactly. Danny MT, shout out to you in my chat here. If you want me to add you to call, let me know in the chat if you want to. We could take comments, questions, concerns as always on the program. Debates just as well there. So
because we do believe in freedom of speech.
Absolutely there. Whereas some of the people of today, believe in this cancel culture. You're not supposed to say this, not supposed to say that, And like if we say anything that they disagree with, they'll take down the video on YouTube that they see is inappropriate. Did I ever tell you about that? A show that me and Bullsy did long while back there got removed by YouTube because of supposed quote unquote misinformation. I was like, oh really? Really?
There's no such thing as opinions anymore.
Exactly. We don't have that no more. We can't express how we feel. You got to go with everybody else. What they want.
That'll probably kill this show.
Yeah. Well, I'll keep uploading it if I want to, man. Okay, so shall we begin?
I guess so.
Okay, let's do it. All right. Now, I want to start with, I think we should probably start off with the New Jack Swing era from 1990, I guess from 89 to 1990, 91, 92, 93, prior to the gangster rap popping up. I will say, probably the only good things that came out in the 1990s was the industrial scene with 9 Inch Nails, Frontline Assembly, the final Skinny Puppy album at that time.
And a lot of these people aren't going to appear in the top 100 because the general public was listening to crap.
Exactly.
But if you wanted to find stuff, it was there, but you had to look around for it.
Yes.
Or discover it on your own.
Yeah, like I did on a number of occasions. I mean, I guess throughout most of the 1990s, I was listening to more underground acts, needless to say.
Which is ironic in a way, because that's kind of the way the end of the 60s was. Kind of. I mean, 60s music was still good, but the really cool stuff was the underground stuff, which quickly became mainstream.
Yeah. Let's also not forget, some of the undergrounds is what's deemed a lot better than the stuff we have out there today. I mean, like one of my favorite albums in the 1990s it was an album called Re-Entry. It was a two-disc set by this project called Techno Animal, which featured one of the guys from the band Godflesh, Justin K. Broadwick. Now, Broadwick was a former member of Napalm Death, a UK grindcore heavy metal group. He left after disgruntlement going on with the lineup of that band at that time, and he put together this guitar-driven industrial rock band. It was him on vocals and guitar, some guy on bass player, playing bass through this distortion pedal to give it a grinding sound, and there's a couple drum machines in the back up there. Now they released lots of albums like Pure, Street Cleaner, Slave State, you know, Selfless. I became a fan of his other project, Techno Animal, which pairs it up with a guy named Kevin the Bug Martin. And the album Re-Entry that they put out in 1995 was, to me, still one of my favorites. It was experimental. It was it may be a little bit odd for Ark's taste or anybody else in this community's taste, but believe me, it delivered to me. That's when I also got into another project called Scorn, featuring Mick Harris, but the band also from the band Napalm left. He departed that group in 1990 there. He put together Scorn with a buddy of his named Nicholas Bolin. They released albums like Evanescence. They had Colossalus. And there were a partying between the two sides occurred, and Harris was left doing Scorn on his own. He released albums like Gyro, Ellipsis, Logie Barogi, albums like Wine, not Dinner and Wine, but like Whine, whiny as in whiny little bitch there. And I guess he's still putting out albums under the name Scorn, believe it or not, which is basically an ambient dub project, needless to say. And Harris also has a project here called Lull, Lull, which basically is a dark soundscape project. They have released albums like Cold Summer, one of my favorites. Dreamt About Dreamin', Journey Through Underworlds, Like a Slow River, and this one album that was about 62 minutes long, one track of this massive drone with wind, feedback from a microphone, effects here and there throughout the whole piece there. This album was great to listen to when you're cruising on the Marine City Highway during the wintertime back in Upper Michigan, which I did a lot at that time.
Ironically, that sounds almost like the Neil Young Ark.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was into more underground acts. Now, in terms of industrial music that I was listening to, I mentioned the ones there. Tool had just made it into the scene there. I consider them pretty good stuff there because you have a lot more prog in their elements there. The song "Sober" was a big hit on the radio and some of the charts as well as the old MTV. And this is one of those bands that do not appear in any of your music videos. They had a couple of interesting videos like "Prison Sex," "Sober," as I mentioned. The album Undertow, which came out in '93, was a massive hit. And what? I gotta tell you this story. I first saw Tool way back in 1990 when it was opening for a local band called the Trash Brats, playing St. Andrews Hall back that year. Tool were completely unknown at this point. There was not a lot of people in the venue to see them, but yet they still played. And I was listening to a couple of their songs between going back and forth downstairs to the shelter underneath, And these guys are pretty interesting, I will say there. And a couple years later, Two makes it big with that song "Sober," and it just went straight on upward from there. I was also listening to, of course, "The Downward Spiral" by Nine Inch Nails. That album was a big name there. Other industrial acts like 16 Volt, Leather Strip from Denmark, I guess the guy hails from. A band out of Germany called Wumpscut. I was getting into way deep underground stuff there, way deep
Sounds like it,
underground.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that, basically, I also got. I mentioned this story a couple of times there. Around 1990, it's when my clothing and taste went totally dark. I started wearing a lot more black. And the reason I became that individual was because of some harassment that occurred to me from the mainstream crowd. I spoke about this before a few times in the past. I was checking out this all female group in Marysville, Michigan. And then these guys approached me saying, "We don't like the way you look." Now, I was wearing a leather hat at that time. I was wearing my knee-high biker boots, which was at the style during that period there. And I had my old leather jacket that I got from a store in a Trapper's Alley in downtown Detroit. And these guys started condemning the hell out of me, thinking I was a drug dealer. They thought I was this kid. They thought I was going to sell drugs. If I catch you, sell drugs in that area. Went off on me for almost more than a half hour. Said they was going to kill me the next time they see me. If I catch you dealing drugs. Every time I try to respond, they tell me to shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up. Finally, the other guy, one of the guys, a couple of the other guys had to pull this one guy back. I said, I'm out of here. I go to my car. The bass player from the Damned that I went to see, the all-female group, I said, "Hey, I'll see you there next time." And I saw one of the guy that was really going after me. He was coming out there to combat me. So I was in my car at the time. I just drove off. I'm heading down I-94 back home from that place. And throughout the whole trip, this one car was right up against up my ass. It was a van. It was right up my ass through all the way. I made a surprise exit off 23 Mile Road to Gratiot Avenue all the way back home. And then the next couple of weeks later, I found out from the all-female band, Damsel, that those guys went after them for the same reason, the way they were dressed. And those guys called them whores, hookers, and their sluts and everything else.
How enlightening those
Exactly.
guys were.
Exactly.
Man,
Exactly. That's why that's why to this very day, my outlook my outlook towards the mainstream world out there, that's why it went down to the crapper like it did. I did not deserve that. Damsel didn't deserve that. Come on. But it's that passing the judgment that the mainstream seems to do upon everybody. And
yeah, the people that are telling us to be more compassionate and thinking of others and all that are the worst ones about condemning people and trying to get rid of them. And it's like, you want us to honor and respect you?
yeah, exactly. But yet you will honor and respect us. So you see why Ark and myself are disgruntled the way we are when it comes to the 1990s lifestyles and also the mainstream world that we live in. This is why. These are the reasons why we're expressing disgruntlement right now. But okay, so I'm going to shut the hell up and we'll try to because I can go on because I don't want to go on a hour long rant, disrupting the music show. We're going to be discussing,
Did you have any news?
well, we do have some news. I got not much news. I know YR did sent me this thing here about George Lynch, let's see here. George Lynch. Get a couple of minutes here. Okay, there's something about about, he said about, well, basically it's like this, something about, the lynch mob may not be able to perform under the name, lynch mob for some reason there, which was one of the bands that he had after Dokken broke up there. Okay. Now this, let's see here. Now, the band was originally called, Electric Freedom. So that was originally the name of George's band after Dokken broke up there. So dropping the lynch mob name was essentially a spur of the moment decision. It just didn't work out. And so I guess he decided to change his band's name back to Lynch Mob, I guess. And current singer for Lynch Mob is, I guess it's Oni Logan. His first name is spelled O-N-I, Oni Logan. That's his name there. And I'm going to go to blabbermouth.com here. That's why I always suggested doing. And I said, he's once again playing shows under the Lynch Mob name. A fan-filmed video from Lynch Mob's October 15th concert at the Buffalo Thunder Resort in Santa Fe, New Mexico, as a supporting act for Dokken can be seen below. Joining legendary Dokken axeman George Lynch at the gig were his longtime drummer Jimmy Andana, tantric bassist Jaron Gilino, and singer Gabriel Collin. Over the weekend, Lynch shared a short video of the Santa Fe performance and included the following message: "Super fun and intense show tonight in Santa Fe. Lynch Mob, hashtag Dokken, hashtag Buffalo Run Casino, hashtag Jimmy Danda." Now, this was from last year, obviously, when George Lynch, and Don Dokken did some performances together with Dokken's current lineup of the band Dokken. And that's pretty much the only thing that's going on with George Lynch at the moment there, I guess. I'm trying to open that link that YR sent me not too long ago, but the thing is, it's just a photo. It's just an image there, so I'm unable to get it there. And plus, I'm unable to find it in the Skype chat that he sent me. I know it's on the blabbermouth there, but in the meantime, let's get that stuff out of the way there, and let's go on to the 1990s there. Started with the New Jack Swing period.
All right, the number one song of 1990 was Wilson Phillips, which in and of itself, that's the offspring of a couple of pretty good bands.
Yeah, the Mamas and the Papas and the Beach Boys.
The song was Hold On, which I wasn't wild about, but, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Number two was Roxette. It must have been.
Hold on, let me get this out there.
It must have been love.
All right, there. Yeah, well, let me say this little thing about the Wilson Phillips song. That song helped a lot of people not commit suicide.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah, which is good because there were a lot of the band said that they got a lot of letters from people saying they was about to take their own life until they heard the lyrics to that song, and it just woke them up immediately after hearing the lyrics. So it was a good thing there that that song came out.
Then you had Sinead O'Connor with Nothing Compares to You,
Uh,
which was written by,
Prince.
come on,
Prince.
I don't care.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay, well, that's a
The
good thing
human
about
role
that song. Nothing else.
matter. No, that else comes. It's a lot of radio stations used to call her the human roll on. Yeah. Apparently, I guess what it was is that the
Yeah,
reason why she shaved her head the way she did was just because there's a complex that comes along with a female artist. You got to be pretty as well as talented as well. And I guess in Sinead's mind, she wanted to people to listen to her music, not pay attention to her looks.
and the opposite worked.
Yeah, exactly.
People were like, "Who's the ball chick?" God, come on,
So I
didn't
know.
work, did it?
Well, then again, she messed up her own career when she did what she did on Saturday Night Live a couple years later on. We'll
Yeah.
get to that later on during our series there.
Okay, then there's Belle Biv DeVoe, whoever the heck that is,
Oh, it
did a
was.
song called Poison.
Oh yeah, that was actually about one of the big New Jack Swing songs during that period. And Belle Biv DeVoe were actually a spin-off of New Edition. It was Michael Bivins, Rodney DeVoe, and Ronald Bell. They decided to form a little project of their own, and then, what you know, it helped spawn what was, of course, the New Jack Swing period. Bands like Guy, Mary J. Blige. Stuff was running amok throughout the charts and on the MTV video circuit. It was everywhere.
And Running Amok's a good description.
Yep.
Then we had Madonna doing Vogue,
Oh gosh.
Mariah Carey doing Vision of Love,
Oh
eh,
gosh. Yeah.
and an artist I liked, but this wasn't his greatest song. It's more of a cabaret thing. Phil Collins' Another Day in Paradise,
Well, actually, that's all.
which is probably a redeeming value on this chart.
Yes, because it's about the homeless and how so many
Yeah,
people, shy away from the homeless people. And I guess Phil in the songs just think about it. Think about it. That could be you sometime soon, whichever they're in the near future.
true. And
Absolutely.
Vogue, Hold On.
Oh yeah, I heard that. Remember,
Billy Idol, Cradle,
Cradle Love,
Billy Idol, Cradle of Love.
which was which
Okay.
was which was not too
It's
bad,
it's
but
all right.
anyway, yeah, it's okay there.
Well, for the '90s, it's probably a great one.
Yeah, but it's interesting enough, during the film of that song, Billy Idol was on crutches because he had suffered a motorcycle accident a year before there. So and when he went on tour later on after that song came out, he was still using a cane at that time. And the fact that there was even his cover version of "L.A. Woman" that was kind of iffy there, in which throughout the whole video he was still using the cane throughout the filming of that clip there. Yep.
Then you had Blaze of Glory, John Bon Jovi,
Yeah, from the young
Belle
ones.
Biv DeVoe again.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, Belle Biv DeVoe again with Do Me.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And by the way,
Michael Bolton,
oh yeah, oh yeah,
How Am I Supposed to Live Without You?
which
Okay.
and what's kind of funny about I did some info about this guy. This guy tried to make it in the '80s as a rock artist. You remember that song
Yeah,
"Fool's
I
Game"?
remember a couple of songs.
Yeah, he also had another rock
Yeah, I remember
song.
him doing a couple of songs that were kind of decent. And then it's like, this isn't working. Let me be a ballad here or whatever.
I guess it's like a
A
adult
pop
contemporary,
artist.
yeah, adult contemporary pop artist there, and that's when he really made it big throughout the charts there. And I believe this is the
Yeah.
same guy who co-wrote that Laura Branigan ballad called "How Am I Supposed to Live Without You?" From what I understand, he covered that.
Well, yeah. Then you got Pump Up the Jam by Technotronics.
Oh God,
Okay.
oh guys, I gotta tell you this story
Paula
about.
Abdul, Opposites Attract.
Oh, that's not wait. I gotta tell you this story about that controversy. The woman, apparently there was a woman named Nellie who was supposed to have been. She was like a model type. She was a black model, like black woman turns out she was not the one who rapped on that song. It was a young rapper who dressed it kind of tomboyish, Ya Kid K. So when that was revealed, they had to rework the album cover or the CD cover at that time with Ya Kid K's face on it instead of the original, featuring this black English model known as Nella or Nelly. I forgot her name was. And let's not keep in mind that at that time, CDs was still selling in this. What was that? It was this case, that was wrapped up. It was
Right.
made. Yeah, that was done to prevent shoplifting done to these items because if it was sold at that time without that particular casing, it would be easier to take them in there and put them in their coat pockets.
Right.
Yeah. So they got rid of that because too many people complained about it was eating up all the trees. Why waste the trees when going to be considered for the environment? So that was a short-lived thing I remembered well. If you got any of those, it's a collector's item for shizzle there.
And like I mentioned, you had Paula Abdul, Opposites Attract, okay. Then you had Janet Jackson with Escapade, okay.
Okay.
And then Hart hit the charts with All I Want to Do Is Make Love to You, which was another ballad.
Yeah. And probably the last
Maxi Priest, whoever the hell that is, Close to You.
Yeah, I remember hearing that song, and that was about it. It was. I'm glad he was a one-hit wonder there. And by the way, Heart, the song, that was probably one of the last big hits. Because I guess they decided to release a couple other albums afterwards when he was with Capitol Records, and I guess they faded into obscurity.
Yeah. Well, actually, this next song I kind of know, and to be honest, it's a hit to me in this chart. Black Velvet by Atlanta Miles.
Oh, God, that was a big. I remember hearing that a lot of times there. Whatever happened to this gal?
Well, in the cover band I was in, I don't know, the cover band I was in, we had a girl that wanted to sing with us one time, and she did that song, and I was kind of like, this ain't bad.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard it at the time.
Yeah.
And she actually belted it pretty good. Atlanta Miles did some stuff with Robert Plant.
Oh, really? I gotta check
did
that
some
out.
Albums, yeah.
Was it the
and
is it her or Alison Krauss? Because Plant did some albums.
Oh, it's
her.
Alison Krauss.
Yeah,
you're right.
I was gonna say that.
It's Alison Krauss, not Atlanta Miles.
Yeah,
Names are similar.
Almost, but Atlanta Miles, she kind of disappeared after that song became a big hit. Usually they come out with one follow-up album, and there's no hits on it. It's just nobody buys it, and then the artist just gets dropped and they fade away into obscurity.
That's how a lot of your one-hit wonders work out.
Yeah.
They release 2 or 3 more albums that nothing happens, or 2 or 3 more singles that nothing happens, except for the one.
Yep.
Someday we ought to revisit one-hit wonders.
Yeah, we do.
Wilson Phillips, Release Me.
Mm-hmm.
Then Linda Ronstadt did something with Aaron Neville called Don't Know Much.
Aaron Neville, yeah, from the Neville brothers, and that was a big hit at that time there. It was I think later.
Then you had.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I was trying to rush through this list.
Okay.
All Around the World, Lisa Stansfeld.
Yeah, English singer.
I Want to Be Rich, Calloway.
Yeah, Calloway is a member, I guess, two brothers from the band Midnight Star, I guess. They did a little something on their own. And I guess the lyrics is about a guy who's desperate for money to pay bills and everything. But in the chorus, you say, I want to be rich, peace, love, and harmony, and happiness there. So you see where they're trying to go with that direction there.
Rub You the Right Way, Johnny Gill.
Another.
Glenn Medeiros featuring, Glenn Medeiros featuring Bobby Brown.
Oh.
She Ain't Worth It. If Wishes Came True, Sweet Sensation.
Oh, wow.
The Power Snap.
Gosh.
Can't Live Without Your Love and Affection, Nelson,
Oh, gosh. So
which
Nelson,
was Rick Nelson's voice.
Gunnar, and Matthew Nelson. All the teeny bop girls were going gaga over those two there. And once you know, they became
Yeah,
hit wonders themselves. They put out the album, the follow-up album, not too long after that, and that tanked miserably there. And God knows where those two are nowadays there.
true. Love Will Lead You Back, Taylor Dane.
Mm-hmm.
Don't Want to Fall in Love, Jane Child.
Oh, gosh. That was
Two
one
to
of the...
Make It Right,
Hold on.
Seduction.
Oh, yeah, I remember hearing... They played that song not too long ago at my workplace. They very rarely played that one there. But going back to Jane Child, I guess she was one of the few individuals to pioneer the nose ring chain to your ear, which the singer from, with the bass player from Skid Row was also sporting at that time. Yeah.
Then you had Two to Make It Right, Seduction.
Mm-hmm.
Send, excuse me.
Go ahead.
Sending All My Love, Linear.
Mm-hmm.
Unskinny Bop,
Oh gosh.
Poison.
Oh gosh, that was one of their last. They had another. Actually, I was a more fan of the follow-up single, "Something to Believe In," which talked a lot of. That song had a lot to say in that song about evangelism, Vietnam veterans going through hard times to get back
Right.
home. You know, talk about homeless people and everything. That was a very touching song to listen to there.
Then you had Step by Step by New Kids on the Block,
Oh
which the Step by Step
gosh.
I liked was Eddie Rabbit.
Yeah. But
I
New
kind of
Kids
liked
on
the
the
Eddie
Block,
Rabbit song.
dude, those guys, the New Kids on the Block were freaking everywhere, man. They're like, I couldn't escape them from. When I was doing busboy work at the restaurant I was working at, I would actually sneak down to where the volume of the jukebox playing and turn the volume down as much as I can because they would play New Kids, they would play all the top 40 stuff, and I just couldn't handle it no more. One of my biggest now. I did. Nobody knew that it was me doing that. Thank goodness. Otherwise, it would have been my ass would be in trouble there. But the thing is with me is that when I hear the same song played over and over, it's going to make me go crazy. I just have a big issue with that there. So, but to other people, it's like no big deal there, and it's like, gosh, give me a break. But I couldn't stand New Kids on the Block there. And what's worse is that all these other boy bands later on throughout the whole decade, they were influenced by New Kids on the Block.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, a song I like.
Mm.
We Don't Start the Fire by Billy Joel.
That's one that
We didn't start the fire.
Yeah, and that's one of the songs that really had mentioned a lot of things in the lyrics that had people looking up the dictionary and encyclopedias to find out what they were talking about there in that song. So basically, it was a song where
Yep.
not only was a good beat and rhythm, but also had lyrics that leave you running to the dictionary and the encyclopedia, as mentioned.
Boy, I'm looking at the next 10 or so songs and it's like, good gosh. I don't have the heart, James Ingram.
Mm.
Oh, this one's okay, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
Downtown Train, Rod Stewart.
Yeah, that was a big one. That was in 1991 there. I guess Bob Seger originally recorded it first, but I guess Rod Stewart did his cover version. I guess there was a spawn of words between the two artists as a result from that there. Bob Seger had to hold his version back for a few years there until he put it on a compilation.
Yeah, that, well, I'm reading 1990s, so.
Yep.
Rhythm Nation, Janet Jackson.
Oh, gosh.
I'll Be Your Everything, Tommy Page. Rome, the B-52s.
Oh, gosh.
Everything, Jody Wally.
Yeah.
Back to Life, However Do You Want Me,
Yeah.
Soul to Soul,
Yeah. Well,
Here
so.
and Now, Luther Vandross.
Oh, wait. Credit to Luther. Credit to Luther. That was probably only a good ballad around that period of time there. Because credit to Luther, rest in peace. He came up with some damn good stuff there. So respect to Luther
Janet
Vandross.
Jackson. Janet Jackson again. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Vanilla Ice finally hits with Ice Ice Baby.
Oh gosh, couldn't stand him. Gosh.
Our favorite non-singing group, Milli
Oh,
Vanilli, Blame It on the
God.
Rain.
Oh gosh, yeah. What I gotta speak out on that one. I know I spoke out about this a couple of times in the past. The Milli Vanilli scandal, as it was at that time known as, shows how inconsiderate, how corrupt record labels can be. If they're willing to sign an act that couldn't sing for crap, but yet looked good, that shows you the level of mentality the record labels have. It's all about selling records.
And they could do the moves.
Exactly there. And when it was revealed, when it was asked after the revelation that they didn't sing a note on that song, the record label, what did they say? And boss, embarrassed? We sold so and so how many copies of that album? Why should we be embarrassed? Well, obviously you sold millions of records. That's a gain. Marketing artists in a certain way to sell records. Like even though that artist is not really comfortable in that spot, you should put him in. I mean, look at Chicago. They had the company had to have ballads from that group throughout the 90's and here afterwards. When Chicago decided to stray away from the ballads, these guys do? They get dropped.
Yeah. Okay, MC Hammer, have you seen her? Taylor Dane, With Every Beat of My Heart.
Mm-hmm.
Janet Jackson again.
Yep.
Come Back to Me.
Oh gosh.
Michelle, No More Lies. Praying for Time, George Michael.
Oh. Which, by the way,
Michael Bolton, How Can We Be Lovers?
Hold on, let me go back to George Michael's Praying for Time. That became one of the two theme songs for the first Gulf War, along with the song Show Me the Way by Styx. And at that time, it was Dennis DeYoung leading that group, and Tommy Shaw was not involved with him. He was with Damn Yankees with Ted Nugent and Jack Blades.
Phil Collins, Do You Remember? No, I really don't, Phil. Thanks, though.
Yeah.
After 7, Ready or Not.
Not too bad, the song there.
MC Hammer, You Can't Touch This. Here on commercials constantly.
Oh gosh! Which, by the way, he stole a couple lines from Rick James's Super Freak for that song there. But credit to Hammer, he gave great half credit to Rick James the songwriting royalties. So both Hammer and Rick James earned lots of good money there from that song there.
I Wish It Would Rain Down, Phil Collins.
Yep.
Lou Gramm, formerly a Foreigner, Just Between You and Me.
Yeah.
Something Happened on the Way to Heaven, Phil Collins. Janet Jackson again.
Yep.
Black Cat.
No.
After 7, Can't Stop.
Ah.
Oh, a song I've heard that I kind of like. Well, I do like, actually.
Yeah.
Aerosmith, Jamie's Got a Gun.
Yeah, which is, by the way, is about an abused girl who takes her vengeance out on her father by shooting him dead. That song was about, child abuse and the results from child abuse there. So there was a lot of talk about that song there.
Yeah. Hang on, my computer's acting screwy.
And when you think about it, some of the Lifetime movies that were on the Lifetime network, television for women, kind of had that same kind of plot that the Aerosmith song had. When you think about it.
Yeah. The Humpty Dance, Digital Underground.
Oh gosh, yo, rest in
I'll
peace,
be
Shock
I'll
G.
I'll Be Your Shelter, Taylor Dane.
Mm.
Then a song I like a lot, Free Falling, Tom Petty.
Ah, featuring that hot
I
surfer
like that
girl.
song.
Yes, remember the video with that one, that girl there, that blonde girl who was skateboarding girl. I'm trying, I should probably look her up. She was hot. I wonder how she's doing now. We don't know her name. I'll give you a couple of minutes there. Blah, blah, blah.
While you're doing that, I'll run through a couple more.
Go right ahead, man.
Giving you the benefit, Peeples.
Mm.
Enjoy the Silence, Depeche Mode. Love Song, Tesla. Price of Love, Bad English. Girls Night Out, Tyler Collins.
Mm-hmm.
King of Wishful Thinking, Go West.
Oh, gosh. That song, I used to hear that. That was on the Pretty Woman soundtrack with Julia Roberts and Richard Gere. And that was a big hit on the soft rock circuit there.
What Kind of Man Would I Be? Chicago.
Oh.
But it's probably a ballad. I'm not familiar with the song.
Mm.
I Remember You, Skid Row.
Oh, good song there.
Get Up Before the Night Is Over, Technotronic.
Gosh.
Here We Are, Gloria Estefan.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I kind of like this one. Epic, Faith No More.
Ah, not too bad there. It was kind of, it fits to
It's
say
kind of
that.
a cross between hard rock and rap,
Yeah, exactly there. And
which
also,
is kind of weird.
and you may notice that the singer Mike Patton was sporting the shaved sides hairstyle that bands like Pantera and James Hetfield from Metallica was sporting at that time. That was the big thing for next couple of years there.
I saw the video of them doing that live on Saturday Night Live, and the lead singer was climbing all over the equipment. It's kind of weird.
Uh-huh. All right.
Love Takes Time, Mariah Carey.
Oh gosh. Oh, by the way, the girl in the go ahead. Let me break this.
Go ahead.
The girl that was in the Free Fallen video, she was found according to Google.com. Yahoo.com. She's also featured in an interview on Nobleman's Noblemania blog, where she reveals that her session of the video's old school backyard half-pipe led her, much to her father's displeasure, to pursue professional downhill skateboarding. This and the fact that the song and the clip are mostly set in the San Fernando Valley really hit home for me, since I grew up in the valley. This is from the writer's perspective. That at one time was extremely into skateboarding. Now, her name is, what's her name again? Blah, blah, blah. Devon Kidd. She's a full-grown woman now. This shows her what she looks like now, and she still looks great. I will say, she does. She is.
Okay. Love Takes Time, Mariah Carey. Just like Jesse James, Cher. B-52's Love Shack.
Oh gosh,
That was a big hit, and I hated that song.
I couldn't stand it either. Every time I hear that song nowadays at my line of work, it reminds me of that place 3Ds, which was right in Royal Oak, which was a popular spot at that time. All the top 40 retards to get on there, shout out the word "Tin Roof Rusted" out loud, and I just couldn't stomach it. I wanted to get out of there as much as I could, but I was with some other people at the time. I rode with them.
Yeah. All or Nothing, Milli Vanilli.
Oh gosh.
Vanilli, whatever.
Crap.
Romeo, Dino. Everybody's Everybody. Black Box.
Oh gosh, I remember
I
that.
Go to Extremes, Billy Joel. I like that song.
Oh, by the way, glad you brought up the Black Box tune. The singer on that was Martha Wash from the Weather Girls, who was also featured in the CNC Music Factory song, was they Gonna Make You Sweat? but she is not in either video for the track because they had to replace. There was some hot figure looking female model there pretending to be a singer because, so as you know, Martha Walsh was a heavy set woman. But yet in dance
Right.
music videos, you cannot be a heavy set woman because they want the hot, you looking models. They want the hot.
Right.
That's what they want there. And anybody you can ask Ann
Right.
Wilson of Heart. They filmed most of the videos during that time, featured mostly her sister because she was still lean, while Ann unfortunately was gaining a little bit of weight. So they had to show Ann from just the shoulders down. That was about it.
And then you had Billy Joel again with "I Go to Extremes," which is a decent song.
That's right there.
"Whip Appeal," Babyface.
Not too bad of a
"Oh
song
Girl,"
there.
Paul Young.
Oh gosh.
And this one's got an interesting name.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Well, Paul DeYoung's "Old Girl" was a She Lights cover there. I should remind you.
"Come On and Get My Love" with D-Mob with Kathy Dennis.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because I looked at that and thought that was "Come and Get Your Love," Redbone. No.
No.
They weren't around in the 90s.
No.
Okay. Paula Abdul, "It's Just the Way You Love Me."
Oh gosh.
"We Can't Go Wrong," the Cover Girls.
Oh gosh.
"When I'm Back on My Feet Again," Michael Bolton.
Oh gosh.
"Make You Sweat," Keith Sweat.
Oh gosh.
This one's for the children, new kids on the block.
Ah.
Oh, this one's okay. Aerosmith, "What It Takes."
Yeah.
The Time, "Jerk Out."
Oh yeah. Well.
"Just a Friend" is. Go ahead.
The Time came back after a couple years apart with that album Pandemonium, and Jerk Out was one of the lead off singles, but the big single from that album was a ballad called "Sometimes I Get Lonely," which featured Prince on the backgrounds there when you listen hard.
Yeah, then, well, you probably know this song. Motley Crue, "Without You."
Not too bad. Good song there from Motley Crue, and thank goodness Motley Crue was still doing pretty good. They were still successful around that year, 1990, thanks to Dr. Feelgood becoming a massive hit the year earlier. But it was a pretty good, interesting video.
But a lot of the groups that put out the great stuff or good stuff or whatever you want to call it, they didn't make the charts because the general public didn't care for them.
Yeah. It's like that, and often, like I said at the beginning of this program, they were often mocked by the new set of fans that came aboard for the grunge alternative scene there.
Yeah. Which is kind of funny because even the so-called hot stuff doesn't make the top 100.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what people are listening to, but
you know what? I got to say this.
Well, I do know what they're listening to.
I got to say this about the Motley Crue album. Now, back in 1994, Motley Crue put out a self-titled album simply called Motley Crue, and it featured a singer named John Corabi. He was a new singer for the band after things with Vince Neil developed and the two sides parted ways. Now, some now saying that that album remains highly the most underrated record that the Crue have ever put it out. It's one of those albums that didn't do so well back in the day, but now is getting much respect nowadays because they've actually got the time to listen to the songs of that album. And now it's like, be like, geez, man, we missed out on a good record there. But at the time, we were into the Chili Peppers and stuff like that.
Well, do we want to do 1991, or we made enough sickness for the night.
Yeah, we'll do a 1991, the next week there. And now, we got to, now tomorrow night, we're going to do another wrestling show. We're going to be taking a look at wrestling's best finishers, whether it's the Mandible Claw or the Stone
And
Cold Stunner.
worst.
Yeah, and worse. Yeah, we got to look at that there. I already got the thumbnails. I got the images for the thumbnail already set up there. Now,
Yeah, there were a couple of holes. I was like, how in the world do they figure that's a finisher?
yeah, I know, but then again, how what they say wrestling is, everything is choreographed ahead of time there. So, but that's another topic for tomorrow night there. Now, I want to say this. Danny MT, if you're still listening to the show, we had a great, successful show this past Friday night. It was me, Famov Ken, it was YR, it was Danny MT, it was Dave Rose, he was on the call just as well. We were discussing the pro-violence, real talk, metaphor Messiah situation, and we were discussing other things. And Dave Rose did mention that Real Talk was asking Dave for the link for the music show because he heard about the shows you were doing. He wanted to listen for himself, or I guess he was very supportive of the community as well. Now, keep in mind, I never heard any of Real Talk's music. Unfortunately, I know it should have had. I thought I didn't know he was an artist on Develop there. He was mostly had this stuff on Spotify and other streaming services. But I did pay homage to the guy in the video that I did back in 2021 there when Prince Idol was briefly involved with us in this community. So we should probably acknowledge Real Talk once again for his acknowledgement of us. So that's true there. And tomorrow night, we're going to be taking a look at wrestling's best and worst finishers on another wrestling show we're going to be doing. And you know what? I'm going to possibly hit up Danny MT soon afterwards to see if we could possibly do another show this weekend. Whether it's him and I, because we had a lot of good talk, about the Michael Jackson molestation case and other things there. We got to do it again this weekend. That's for sure, Danny. All right, I will hit you up as soon, right after this show ends. In the meantime, we'll be looking at 1991 next week, next Wednesday evening. Tune in once again for the next wrestling show at the same time, same station. And for Mr. Ark and myself, we will see you tomorrow night. Bye-bye, everybody.
Alrighty. Bye.
Okay, we'll see you cats later.